I'm Coach Brian. A little bit about who I am as we talk about smart nutrition for busy lifestyles. I'm 41. I married my high school sweetheart. I have 4 kids, ages 14 to 8, 3 boys and a girl. Not only am I busy, my wife is busy with her. We're both self-employed. The kids have a lot of different school activities and extracurricular sporting activities afterwards. We live and die by the schedule, or we definitely crash and burn. So time management and all these things are heavily have to happen in our life, and we need to have good nutrition and good healthy active lifestyle as well to keep up with it all. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. As a professional in the last 20 years, this is the only thing I've done is talk to people about health, nutrition, fitness, lifestyle, behavior changes, time and stress management, and how to just cope with the everyday life. We want the journey of life to be fun and exciting, and to get us to our final destination, just a really rich and robust life experience. And so I help people figure that out and get them out of their own ways oftentimes, or deal with some of the weight loss or other body issues that they deal with. So I'll be able to, I talk to people. I had 13 phone calls yesterday. We talked about nutrition on every single one related to their everyday life. So let's share the screen for those listening in, the audio. I'll be talking through everything that we have and really excited to have you. I'm a big fan of the chat box, the comments, so please engage, chat, Q&A, send it to everyone or just anonymous, whatnot. I want to make sure that you feel like you get a lot out of this today. Let's jump in. So smart nutrition for a busy lifestyle is our topic today. What our agenda and the contents of today's presentation are going to be: why eat well, nutrition basics, healthy habits, meal prepping 101. I'll ideally bring a lot of anecdotal stories and experience here, a lot of things that I talk about with clients and some of the struggles or challenges, the obstacles, situations that show up for them. I'd love for you to share some of yours too, and I can actually give you actionable advice on it as well. So question, why eat well? The answer is pretty obvious, and here we go. Let's jump in. So eating well supports longevity, living longer, healthier, more active, robust life. That the journey of your life is exciting and enjoyable. Your muscles and bones are supporting your body and stay strong, healthy, and durable to manage the life that we live and all the situations that we find ourselves in. Our immunity is boosted, so you're literally going to feel better and not get sick so much. That's incredibly important as well, because you don't want to be sick. That's not going to help you ever. Skin, teeth, eyes, your hearing, all your senses, taste, touch, smell, all these things are always, say, enhanced or robust or at their peak that they can do, and the experiences that we have from them. You can maintain a healthy body weight. I am a big fan of finding a 5-pound weight range that you fit in your clothes, you look good in the mirror, people around you, their general commentary is you're a healthy, active person that takes care of themselves. That's really good. And obviously by eating well and supporting these things, then we're able to reduce risk of heart disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, cognitive decline, or like Alzheimer's, you just can't focus, brain fog, high blood pressure. These are things that are definitely related directly to nutrition and how well you care for your body and your activities every day. So the global burden of disease study. So longest gaps between current and optimal intake were observed for these different things. So we have nuts and seeds were 80% below optimum levels. So those are healthy fats. Healthy fats help with our hormones and different regulations in the body, helps with our hair, skin, and a lot of different functions that mono and polyunsaturated fats can help with heart disease and such. Whole grains. Grains aren't the issue. Simple food that's enhanced by sugar and other additives, those are more the issue here. So having just whole foods is down quite a bit. Milk can have balanced nutrition of protein, some carbs, and some healthy fats, and help with calcium levels. So there's some really good benefits that dairy brings to the table. For my clients nutritionally, we do rely on dairy to be an enjoyable source of getting more protein added into their diet, and that comes from milk. So like whey protein, casein, we've got yogurt or cottage cheese, low to no fat cheese. Those are all enjoyable ways to get your dairy and get some protein in. Processed meats, we're eating too much of them, and sodium as well, just too much. And this is obvious because generally the food industry and what we've seen really show up in the last couple of years with big industry is that everything has lots of carbs, fats, sodium, sugar, and not enough micronutrient dense vitamins and minerals, and creating a balanced meal. Even fats in general aren't mono and polyunsaturated fats with nuts, seeds, olive oil, and such. It's usually high processed oils that end up running into issues with just literally giving too many calories in the foods that you are eating. So what we have is the whole grains, fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts, lean protein sources. This creates a balanced diet that gives the body the nutrients that it needs to function. So literally the last meal I had some chicken, lean protein. I had some legumes. There's a mixture of black and pinto beans together. I had some corn in there. I had broccoli in there as well. And I did a little hot sauce and some red pepper flakes because I like a little heat. And then I had a really balanced meal there. Now, I could have even added an avocado. For me, that would have really worked. I was going with a little bit of a Mexican type flair to it with the taste and some of the seasonings I added with what I ate. So that was a pretty balanced meal. I had it about 2.5 hours ago. So it was it was closer to 3 hours. I'm still running, having good energy. I'm full enough. I will probably end up eating here in the next hour or two after I'm done with this to refill the body and keep my energy levels up and my blood sugar levels balanced. So even with small changes, as the notes here at the bottom here, small changes can lead to big results. So the program I call my program that I help people with is called Momentum. That's because I'm trying to get you to get unstuck from the situation where you're at and get you moving in the direction where we want you to go. So literally making small progressive changes over time help build a sustainable outcome for the future. So we just start by adding one thing into one meal a day or in the week. Even if somebody wants to create new recipes into their every week, we're always still going to start small. Like let's pick 1 or 2 to add in this week, and then we can build on that. At some point in the process of doing that, you're going to run out of ability to add recipes, because even at 1 a week, in the course of a 1 year time frame, you've added 52 different recipes into the mix. So even if you just went on a 1 recipe per day, that's almost 2 months worth of time that you've created new opportunities for a variety of different healthy, balanced foods, which is exciting. But oftentimes most people aren't going to do that much. They're going to fall into eating some of the similar things they eat on a regular basis. And once you understand that, then you can practice on better portions and food choices around those things you do enjoy on a regular time. So let's chat and let's hit up the the chat or the Q&A, whichever one strikes your interest, the comments below. What are some words that come to mind when you think about balancing your nutrition? And what do you think of when it comes to balanced nutrition? So we got someone here. Overwhelming. I love it. Okay, great. That's a good starting point. And that's something that I literally work with. Confusing. Google the word diet. You're in trouble. Good luck. All right. You probably all are shaking your heads on that because it is. And it's meant to be that way because of money, marketing, and some of those are the two biggest ones. Even we're not going to get political here, but like just lobbying for certain types of groups in our the food industry can have heavy sway, and they're going to perpetuate something being better than something else because they want it. So we have expensive as well. I would agree with you. If you're not mindful of what you're doing, even healthy food can get expensive as well. But also, I've ran into so many people that are spending an extra $10+ on door dashing their food, and they're getting 30-minute-old lukewarm food that was already overpriced, and then they're paying a premium on top of it. And that in and of itself is exponentially more expensive than you buying rice, beans, oatmeal, quinoa, and some of those things. Those can be very cheap, high quality carbohydrates that can really help you meet your goals and your energy needs. Yeah, here's another one. I'd say just having the time when you're so busy. Well, I'm glad that you bring up busy because that's what this is all about, is that busy lifestyle. And the word busy, I would most definitely say that is the 4-letter word that every single person I've ever worked with is going to tell me. They are busy. And my job is to help simplify, meet them where they're at, simplify the process around picking better food choices that align with their approach, their program, their what's important to them and their goals around their health. Therefore, they are able to actually live and have energy and prioritize. So the last two conversations talked a significant amount about productivity and managing your time and staying organized on top of that to allow for you to be able to have a little bit of bandwidth and not just be busy. Hopefully in the very beginning of this conversation, I already stacked the deck. I've got 4 kids. They each do what seems like 2 or 3 different activities each. I'm active. My wife loves to travel. We went to 3 international destinations last year. We were in Florida 3 times. We did Denver, Moab. We're planning some big trips this year as well. We are on the go. We have 4 cats and a dog. There's always something calling our attention, and to be time management is of utmost importance. So hopefully, I've already said that I'm busy too, but I can still prioritize the foods, the activities I do to make sure that I stay healthy and I avoid some of those unpleasant risks that come with being too busy. And next thing you know, an easy example here is gain 1 pound a week, or sorry, not 1 pound a week. That's too aggressive for this, but 1 pound a month for the next 10 years. That's 12 pounds a year times 10. That's a lot of weight that you just gained just by having 1 extra pound show up, and 12 pounds in 1 year. That's not enough to necessarily change clothing sizes on you in a 1 year time frame, but over a course of 5 years, yes. And over a course of 10 years, think of the health implications that start to show up for you because you're too busy or you're not managed or you're just letting, say, marketing get the best of you. Yeah. How many years have we heard Tony the Tiger tell us how great Frosted Flakes are? That's just one example here. So appreciate all that. Let's get moving here. Next up is, there is no one size fits all approach to nutrition. So finding this no carb, low carb, lots of carbs, carnivore, vegetarian, vegan, omnivore, all these things, fasting, not fasting, eating all day, eating small times, eating, right now, this is where some of the confusion and overwhelm come in. What is the right way to go about all this? Well, having a process around creating better systems, a better understanding of nutrition, allows you to be able to find the one size that fits you, that fits into your everyday life, that allows you to figure out what are the challenges, what are the opportunities, and what are those solutions to close that gap on each of those, so that healthy eating does not have to be complicated. When I talk to people, there's 3 things at its simplicity that we're focused on. Number 1 is movement. Number 2 is food choices. Number 3 is portion control. It's as easy as that to help you start to create positive momentum done in small chunks to create a better, healthier you, better, healthier lifestyle that gives you life rather than, say, takes it away. How many of us fall victim to low energy throughout any one day? And if every day at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock you run into energy issues, well, how many days in the year are you constantly met with this, stop sign of like, halt, you're not allowed to go past here because you have no energy to function in your everyday life and choices and things that you want to do? And how often does something like that turn into, I'm tired, I'm going to go home and not do some of the other things in life that I find enjoyment around because I don't have any energy, and therefore I'm not actually living life. I'm just sitting in front of another screen trying to manage my fatigue. That's not how we live life. That's not what all this is about in our world. The last conversation I had about organizing your life, I gave some stats around screen usage. People are spending upwards of 2.5 hours a day on social medias, spending about potentially 6 hours linked up to being on a screen or on computers or on the internet. And we'll admit it, most of us would have a hard time not tapping into the internet in any one day of our life because of just the addictiveness of it, period. Well, another way is consult someone who knows what the heck they're doing with nutritional advice. So I literally have had thousands of conversations with this. So hopefully the way I present this makes it easier for you to comprehend and understand what these nutritional basics are, so that you don't have to spend a lot of money and still can eat a healthy lifestyle. So a quick drink here and we'll get to it. Lean protein. So we have macronutrients. Macronutrients are proteins, carbs, and fats. Food is made out of calories, protein, carbs, and fats. And generally, at its simplicity, I like to break it down like this. Protein helps build and recover the body. Carbs are for energy, and fat is for good hormonal balance and some other processes that happen in the body. And we only need so many calories. We only need so much protein, carbs, and fats to meet the daily requirements of your day to day. Now, what happens is that we end up overeating, and then we gain weight, and we're marketed and advertised, or it's just more, quote, convenient to go stop somewhere or order out, and then we're not getting balanced meals because someone else has decided that this food combination needs to look and taste and feel a certain way because a restaurant wants the food to taste good so that your experience there is excitable, enjoying, and you're able to come back and get to it there. Now, so let's define some proteins. We've got like a meat, so beef, lamb, elk, bison, pork. We're looking for lean protein sources. Now, these type of land animals, they have different cuts of meat. Some are leaner cuts and some are fattier cuts. So it's important to note that in pork, bacon isn't nearly as lean as deli ham, as an example, or pork tenderloin. So pork could have benefits to being lean. It's just making sure you're looking at a nutrition label to assess where this food source fits in with you. Poultry. So we got our birds, chicken, turkey, duck. These also have lower fat white meat and a little bit higher fat dark meat. So they have both. Seafood, salmon, shrimp, and clams. White fish is super lean. Shrimp, no protein, no fat. It's all protein. But salmon does have some fat in it. It's good, healthy good omega-3s, fatty acids and such. So we do want to pull that in because we want to have a good balance. Clams do have some fat in them as well. So it's just important to make good decisions. Eggs, excellent source. It has fat and protein in it. So it's important to note that. Egg whites are literally just protein. So if you loved eggs, we can find the good balance for you around having whole eggs or some egg whites mixed in to find some of that too. Now we have full fat and low fat dairy sources, milk, cheese, protein powders, yogurts, cottage cheese. There's other cheeses out there like feta and whatnot. They all have different micronutrient micronutrients are like vitamins and minerals. Macronutrient, they have different protein and fat. For me, I prefer having a low to no fat cottage cheese or a yogurt and then adding peanut butter to it as an example because that's enjoyable. Sprinkling some nuts on a yogurt parfait. I'd much rather have a low fat yogurt to add the nuts on top of and really enjoy that rather than having a full fat dairy source and then adding nuts on top. Then I'm starting to get a lot of fat there. So again, it's just being educated around what's in the food. Nuts, seeds, legumes, these have protein in them. Nuts and seeds are primarily going to be fat sources that have a little bit of carbs and protein in them. Legumes, like beans, are going to have a lot of carbs that have some protein in them, and they're a good source of fiber. And so nuts and seeds also are a really good source. So these are going to outline our protein numbers here. We're going to look at, if you guys have any questions, please throw it up on into the chat. Be happy to address any of these things. Carbohydrates. These are fantastic. Humans operate off of carbohydrates. Think of it as like the gasoline that goes in a car and the gasoline that gets stored inside the gas tank. That's like the carbohydrates getting stored in your muscles of your body. We call it glycogen. So carbohydrates break into glucose and can get stored as muscle glycogen to fuel your activity levels. What happens when we go to the gas station and you fill up on too much gas in your car? It spills over, it gets all over the side of your car. Everyone's around you thinking I'm pretty sure the gas station's going to blow up because the gas is all over the place. The gas station attendant is not very happy because now they got to clean up and they got to bring out the cat litter stuff or whatever. And it's just this mess. And what happens is when we overeat calories or too many carbs or fat or even protein, it's a little harder to overeat lean protein sources, but or even vegetables. It's really hard to overeat like broccoli or spinach or something. You really have to go out of your way to eat a lot of those to have too many carbs there. But that's fat storage in your body. So if you eat too many carbohydrates at one time, or even more importantly, across the day, then your body will store those extra calories or carbs that you consumed as body fat. So having portion control around these is important. Whether it be white rice or brown rice, quinoa, white potatoes, sweet potatoes, it's still going to go circle back to portion control, because white rice and brown rice, when you look at them nutritionally on the labels, they're incredibly similar to each other. And there isn't necessarily one huge glaring reason why you should always eat one color of rice over another. And it just circles back to portion control. Fruits and vegetables we want to have throughout our day. Vegetables we want to have a lot of because you can eat so many of them. Keep full. It helps with fiber intake. It helps with balancing blood sugar levels. The breads can be easily overeaten. Same thing with some of these other ones that are on here. Why people want to put the X on it is oh, no rice, beans, but potatoes, bread, pasta, sugars. Usually there's a lack of self-control in there. They eat too much of it, and that's why it's just easier to forego it. So people have success cutting out carbs, but if you don't see yourself always not eating a lot of carbs in your life, I would never suggest that being a good starting point for you to have when it comes to managing your calories and just reducing carbs rather than cutting them out makes a whole lot more sense. And again, we're always going to circle around to having balance in your meals. Having some lean proteins, having lots of vegetables, some carbs, some fruit, and a little bit of healthy fat. That's a really easy way to think about it in your mind to then prioritize how it shows up on your plate and ultimately how it shows up in your body as what you eat. So good fat sources, these are fat sources, not necessarily good or bad. They're high calorie foods. Butter, egg yolks, fatty fish, nuts, seeds, olives, avocados, coconut oil. They all have different micronutrient profiles, which are vitamins and minerals. They offer different opportunities in the body. And so, at first glance, we can always say avocados are really healthy for you compared to butter, with the amount of fiber that you're going to get out of an avocado and some of the micronutrients and such, instead of butter ends up being just a higher calorie fat source. All right, so what the heck do we put on our plate? How do we create some balanced meals? And also defining what some of the things are. So hopefully this becomes less confusing, and you can certainly put it in the chat box. Hopefully what I've said and shared so far has created some clarity. I would love to know that and give some feedback there so that I can make sure that the words coming out of my mouth resonate with you and we keep moving you forward through the nutritional maze that it is, and actually you walk away from this conversation learn something. So, in the chat box, say, hey, thumbs up or good, I got it. If you have a question on something, then please. So we got a doing good, we got a thumbs up, okay, we're doing all good. All right, excellent. So I'm glad that I'm explaining it in a way that makes sense for you. So organic versus non-organic. So let's just define what this is. Organic food, it meets certain federal guidelines. It's related to the agricultural procedure and production that specific foods go through to have a nutritional criteria that it needs to meet ultimately, rather than, say, looking at a nutrition label or something. So there's pesticides is a really easy one, and herbicides that you may or may not be able to use them depending on what they are and what type of food product it is, what type of a harvest crop it would be. It limits use of genetically modified organisms, GMOs. So we're trying to not mess with our food chain supply. And that's where when you have an organic label, these people and companies have jumped through a couple more hoops to certify that their food is of a higher quality, in a sense, in the way it was produced, than not necessarily using, a pesticide, which may or may not be good or not so good for your body. focuses on foods that are wholesome, nutritious, health promoting overall, rather than specific label claim as, say, healthy. We'll throw this out there. If I asked all of you on this call what healthy is or versus not, we'd all have different answers. My goal when I'm working with anyone is to help them just truly understand what is in the food that they are choosing, like the calories, the portions, the fat, the carbs, the protein. And once they realize that, then they can start making better decisions around what that actually looks like and what should this food be incorporated into their life or not. So I practice nutritionist every single day. I don't do organic foods. I have 6 people in my house. It multiplies my grocery bill. So I'm not going to buy an organic potato. I'm just going to buy regular potatoes. So I'm going to look for budget-friendly ways for me to manage getting healthy foods in my house, not just necessarily getting organic blueberries that are $10 a pound or something. Like, yes, that could be healthier for my body, but I am going to, it's just too expensive. I'm not spending $300 at the grocery store when I can spend 50% of that to keep things moving forward. Now, but that's my personal preference. If your budget and your personal tastes and the type of just all the things that go into producing organic food, that's something that really resonates with you, great. Then do that. That's why it's on the market, and that's why there is a market, because there's a certain percentage of people that enjoy that approach, that type of food. It's just, for me, it's just not financial, doesn't make the financial sense to spend exponentially amount more for a particular food item. So that's just something that, like, my wife and I have agreed on to manage our kids. They still get good, healthy, balanced meals. Or even just with this plate model, we're focusing on making sure that they are eating healthy foods, and the whole family is. So step 1 is fruits and vegetables is the biggest things we want. It takes up 50% of the plate, primarily even more vegetables over fruit. The reason being is you can eat way more vegetables over fruit in and of itself. The example being, like, an apple has about 100, 120 calories. I love broccoli, so I always compare it to broccoli, but that is about 30 calories in a cup. So I can have 4 cups of broccoli for the same calories as 1 large apple. The 4 cups of broccoli are going to keep me more full longer as I go and be more enjoyable for me to eat to keep that fullness up. Now, some days I pick fruits and I put them with starchy carbs and stuff, like berries, mixed berries with cereal or something. That is a viable option that I'll do. Oftentimes for, say, quote, breakfast or something. Step 2 is grains. We want to have about a quarter of the grains and then quarter of the protein, lean protein sources. So again, practice just from the visual of this plate in and of itself. It's a visual portion. We should have 2 to 3 times more of the fruits and the vegetables part of the plate as opposed to the grains and the protein. Why? Because they're just naturally lower calorie, and it's a lot easier to manage calories in a certain meal. We have step 4 is healthy fats. So healthy fats, the example is nuts. Hummus is olive oil and chickpeas. So that hummus, as an example, has both carbs and fats in it. So that's something that would be a matter of managing calories on the plate. Oils, olive oil and certain ones too, coconut oil, so the seeds, avocados. So these are things that we want to use in moderation because they are calorie dense. Okay, that's why they are number 4 on the list. Step 5 is we want to manage our liquid consumption. Ideally, low to no calorie beverages are always going to win out over the higher calorie stuff. Now, Coffee and tea work great, and I always personally include them in my hydration strategy for myself, but also my clients. That helps them get an adequate amount of fluid in them, but we want to make sure that there's not, say, 50, 100 or more calories in their beverage, because that does impact the overall calories in that particular meal, but also that it's consumed with, or the day of the day that they do it. And step 6, having something fun. If you're eating 80 to 90% dialed in, good, healthy, balanced food, that gives you, 1 to 200-ish calories, depending on your overall calorie intake of the day. And that's something that you could have some of these foods that are higher calories. So the examples being French fries, desserts, chips, candy. Yes, you can have chips. We just want to make sure that you are a chip. This is my kind of go-to. A chip is roughly 10 calories. So if you had 10 chips, great. That's 100 calories. That totally fits inside that model there. But who just stops at 10 chips? Not too many. And then it gets added on to too many calories in the particular meal anyway. So an example, like you go to Subway as an example, you have 250 to 300 calories in the bread alone. Then you add that bag of chips is easily 150 calories. So between the chips and the bread, you have 400 some calories, and you haven't eaten anything else. That's a lot. All right, so how about carbonated water added to Splenda sweetened syrups and stuff? Tarani. So we have some upstairs, actually. I bought my wife a DrinkMate, which is a SodaStream counterpart. Then I actually use it more than she does. I love the carbonated sparkling water. Oh, it's so good. It tastes so good just on its own. I found it to be incredibly enjoyable over just having regular water. And I will regularly do that. Unfortunately, right now we are out of CO2. So the carbonation is not in the house. I need to go do the exchange or find a good way to do that. Now, I talk a lot about time management. It's just not on the hierarchy of importance, having carbonated water. Although it is incredibly important, I can still just drink regular water without it, but it is going to be on the importance because it's just so good. Now, having artificial sweeteners, if you want to dive into literature, you can definitely find literature that says that having artificially sweetened or no-calorie beverages in comparison to caloried beverages always wins out on weight management because it's 0 calories as opposed to like a Coke or Diet Coke. A Diet Coke has 0 calories, a Coke Zero has 0 calories as opposed to a regular Coke that has 150 calories with 40 grams of sugar. So I believe, and in my practice, I'm okay with having artificial sweeteners as part of the process, not you're consuming so much Splenda or artificially sweetened beverages and food products that you have digestion issues, right? Too much sucralose can cause you stomach issues. Chewing too much sugar-free gum can cause digestion issues. You may or may not have known that, but it has happened with people. They eat too much chewing gum, and they're like, why is my stomach upset? Well, you've just ate like 5 packs of gum, and that is a problem. So we got a great with an exclamation point. Well, just think about it. Say you loved Coke. Coca-Cola specifically, that type of Coke. And I could get you to go to Coke Zero. It doesn't taste the same as Coke, but it still gives that sweet, that bubbly, it gives you all that stuff. I'm going for 150 calories to 0 calories. 40 grams of sugar to 0 sugar. The impact of those 150 calories that it's going to have on your blood sugar and your overall calories in the day is significant. It's going to impact that. And then also, in general, just sweet tasting stuff, sugar begets more sugar. You want more because that's the way humans operate. And that's why sugar is added to so many foods because it tastes good. Fats added to so many foods because it tastes good and it's easy to sell and market. So just from a caloric perspective, that's what we're looking at. So hopefully that answered. If anyone else has some questions on any of this, please throw it in. I'd be happy to go over. Hopefully this is really good stuff. So this lady is very happy with hearing that. It's, again, we just want to make sure that you're not consuming so much Splenda or artificial sweeteners that it starts to become a significant part of your overall food intake of the day, right? That's just not good food behavior. And that's some of the things that I'm talking with people. It's like, let's make good food choices, period. If you're going out to eat tonight, let's make better choices from the get-go and better portions from the get-go, not just pick whatever the daily special is or what someone else ordered ahead of you and they influenced you, and then you end up eating all of it. That's not good food behavior. It's just not. Now, certainly you can go out to eat and eat the thing at the restaurant that you really enjoy, but ideally you would have had figured out other ways in the day to get it to fit in a sense. All right, so when to eat? When the heck do we eat? So this is I find most people are going to eat 3 to 4 times a day. Okay, whether you want to call them meals or snacks is up to you. I'm going to call larger meals or smaller meals, but there is a point around where most people are going to have something before 10, something around noon, something around 3, something around the quote dinnerish time, like 6 to 8. That's about 4-ish times, whether you want to call it, I have my afternoon snack. So if we can kind of get rid of some of this language and lingo around this, then it simplifies it even more to help you understand roughly how many calories you should be eating throughout the day. And then you also realize, between noon and 3, I actually walk by someone's desk and grab one of this and another of that at someone else's, and I eat that, and those 200 extra calories I wasn't paying attention to. Yeah, that adds up over time, and that will add to your waistline as well. So keeping a consistent meal schedule just helps with routine. Humans are creatures of habit and behavior. If we implement good habit and behavior from the get-go, having a better approach and timing to your food, you will just thrive so much better. If you always pack lunch and it's low-calorie bread with some lean, low-fat deli meat with some vegetables, carrot sticks, and an apple, you're going to do so much better every single day than getting influenced by a DoorDash or going out to eat or whatever else happens, because you'll always be more in control of that particular meal. So we want to keep meal times generally consistent, plus or minus an hour or two. You should not be setting your time watch to it. That doesn't make sense. So eat breakfast within an hour of waking. That's the general time frame where if you have a busy day, a work day, then that works really, really well. This is something that I don't necessarily do every day. I really look at when should I be eating in specifics to the type of day or schedule that I'm having. My schedule varies from one day to the next. It's not a 9 to 5 thing. I'm on a phone call. I'm going to be talking to someone in Maryland tonight at 9:15. My first call was with someone in New York City at 7:45 this morning. So my schedule varies quite a bit based around other people's schedules and when they're available. So I may or may not eat first thing, but it's about what's important to you and the time to get the overall calories in the day to eat. Now, stop eating about 2 hours before bedtime. Now, this is just a really good rule of thumb, because what happens most of the time right in the evening, it's making bad food decisions. Now, if you like to eat at bedtime, I regularly eat after 9 or 10 o'clock. And yes, I do go to bed within an hour or two or less from eating. But those calories fit in my day. I have planned it, I've thought it out, and I've managed my overall calorie intake to meet the needs of my schedule and the desired outcomes. Having the busyness of schedule I do, sometimes eating in the evening just makes sense. So we have a hunger fullness scale. 1, painfully hungry, dizzy, nauseous, ill, low blood sugar levels, all the way up to 10. We have painfully full, physically ill, sick. You might even throw up. Obviously, we're looking for somewhere in the 5, 6-ish, possibly 7-ish range is where you're going to want to find most of that. And we want to evaluate this over 20 to 30 minutes of time, not just immediately after you eat, because in the first 5 minutes of eating, you're not going to feel 11, 7, or 8 or 9 type fullness. You're going to feel, say Thanksgiving or Christmas. You're going to feel an 8, 9, 10 level of fullness an hour later after you finish eating as that food sits in your stomach. And if you're at 1, 2, or 3, you're not planning your meal times out well. You're going to end up falling into some of these categories here. We have emotional hunger and we have physical hunger. So you're going to end up just not being in control, not staying satiated. You're not making aware choices. You're not understanding when you are satisfied or not. Your choices of food may be satisfied or not. And so ultimately, when we look at this, we want to figure out what is that happiness of making sure that I've met some of I obviously have to meet my physical needs of the day of a certain amount of calories that I eat. But then we also want to look at what do I want the composition of those calories to look like that create satisfaction, not guilt or something like that, or shame or food regret. So mindful eating is an easy first place to start. We sit down, we aren't moving around, we're not doing 1,000 different things, there's not a lot of clutter out, just focus. We have a simple meal with those 3-ish type quadrants on our plate. We have vegetables or fruit, some protein, and some starchy carbs. We're not texting, focusing on all this stuff. It's just an endless amount of food at our plate and access to it. We're trying to check in with ourselves because oftentimes the habits and behaviors around eating are the things that cause you to maybe gain weight over time because you never pay attention to what you eat because you're watching something and you just aren't focusing on it. Certainly chewing thoroughly is great. Digestion starts in your mouth, breaking the food down with your teeth. The saliva starts, and then as it starts to go through the digestion tract, the more palpable and chewed the food is, the better it'll go through the process and digestion and cause less issues. Plus, if you slow down eating, you will fill up sooner in a sense or have that awareness of fullness that is really good. Next up is tune in. See, we want to have a full experience around what's in the food that you're eating. Notice when you might be hungry or you're full so that you eat an appropriate amount. And then lastly, reflect. So you want to think about the meal, the context, how it was, how you felt, the enjoyment level. There's a lot of reasons why we eat our food. So healthy habits. Let's keep checking along. We want to limit sugar. So here's some, instead of sugary cereals, we'll have oatmeal with some fresh fruit and nuts. That's an obvious. Let's get away from sodas and high sugar energy drinks to unsweetened sparkled water. Or if you needed, we could do a Splenda unsweetened Torino. We're not just hosing it down with 5 pumps. We're going to put maybe a half a pump in. What's the ratio of water to the least amount of added whatever is the idea that you're going for. We don't want to just hey, it says add 3 pumps just to 20 ounces. Well, that's because they want you to use it up quickly and then buy more. So you may only need half a pump for that. Heavy sweetened desserts for some really satisfying dark chocolate. Other ones are sugary condiments to comments labeled no added sugar. There's a lot of low-calorie dressings and seasonings and sauces and stuff that are on the market these days. Next up, we've got looking at a nutrition label here. So what we're looking at is calories. How many calories there? How does this relate to your overall day? Number two is how many servings are actually in this container. So this is 110 servings with 8 servings. So it has 880 calories in it. It's 8 fluid ounces. So this is meaning to me that it's probably looks probably like a drink of sorts. Based on what it is. There's no fat, there's no protein, so that means that it's primarily carbs. And then when we look at this, we have 27 total carbs, and of the 27, 25 of those sugars, of the carbs are sugars, so it's primarily sugar, period. And then when it says included means that it's been added into the beverage. So then we can look at the nutrition label and, one of the first ingredients is corn syrup. And then there's sugar. And then we have corn syrup again and fructose syrup. And those are all names of sugar. And they're generally processed pretty quick in the body. And those can get in trouble. So what this basically is when I just look at the label, it's 800 and 900 calories of sugar in some form of a syrup. Probably not the best thing to be consuming. All right, let's look at some other things about caffeine. Caffeine's okay to have. We just want to make sure that we're not overdoing it. I believe the top amount that one should have as a human is 400 milligrams. That's what I've consistently come across. And so you can certainly have some coffee. Generally, I'm a big fan of having one coffee in the morning, one coffee in the afternoon, that around like 1-ish or so. That gives me some pretty good consistent energy. Or if you want to do the biohacking, entrepreneur thing, you take an electrolyte thing in the morning, you delay your coffee until like 10-ish, and then have some coffee then, and it actually pushes you into a reasonable range to get you through the day on caffeine. All right, next up is finding joy in cooking. So we want to be inspired. We want to have different techniques, different types of equipment to use. I just was using an air fryer for kale chips yesterday. Took 7 to 8 minutes, and it was incredibly easy and enjoyable. Whereas if I would have roasted it in the oven, it just was a different approach and would take a little bit more techniques to do. Whenever you cook, you want to cook in bulk. You want to make more than one serving usually so that you're planned and you're prepared. Things like slow cookers, Instant Pots really help making one pan or one pot meals to expedite that. Now, emotional eating is something that we get trapped up in, so we use the HALT method. Am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Am I tired? And this really helps you evaluate how much emotion is going into your food choices. So real quick, what is one healthy habit that you love to practice moving forward? I'd love to see that. One person's going to definitely have a limited amount of Splenda sweetened beverage in her water, carbonated water. That's awesome. I love carbonated water. Another person's going to get their Instant Pot out and start making more one-pot meals. That's really important because you can make multiple servings of that. Meal planning and prepping isn't as hard as you think when you take a time out from your busy schedule and you actually prioritize figuring out what you're going to eat. If you went on a 2-week schedule of having, you have this on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and you did that for 3 total weeks in a row, you got yourself an ongoing 3-week rotation that no one's going to call you out on, like, hey, wait a minute, we had tacos 3 weeks ago on Tuesday. You're like, yes, we did. And if you don't like it, you can plan and cook the food yourself. But a 3-week time frame creates a lot of variety and ability to do it. So meal prepping, speaking of that, You want to make your meals ahead. We want to be cooking in advance. We want to use refrigeration or reheating times in the oven, the slow cooker, different ways to go about that. We're looking for batch cooking, large batches of recipes, splitting it into small individual portions to go in the fridge or the freezer. You want individual portions always going onto the plate or having it really grab and go type thing, so we can use Tupperware containers to do that, or bags or serving size containers. Ready to cook ingredients. Not everything needs to be fresh to cooked plate. There's lots of convenience we can build in with frozen vegetables or other food products that work. Knowing your weights, we talked about having a schedule of when you go grocery shopping, what type of foods you have, how many meals should you be eating, prepping. We always have leftovers, so that's always going to get worked into the rotation of what types of food we are going to be eating. We're showing up organized and prepping for certain times of the day or week to have food prepped, and we're going to make sure that we are organized around it. So as we said, you can literally list out every single breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the whole week, or other people that I found, they'll pick out 2 to 3 options of, quote, go-to breakfasts or lunch or snacks that they could have in the day, and they all equal roughly the same amount of calories, and therefore it becomes pretty darn easy for you to manage swapping things in and out, and it also makes grocery shopping a heck of a lot easier. Mixing up variety is the spice of life. I love having all sorts of different flavors, seasonings, and this doesn't mean you have to, slice and dice and chop and throw, get fresh dill or something. We can find certain things and add them in the cooking process or even afterwards, like squeezing a lemon onto something could really create a different intensity and enjoyment there. You just need to open your mind to doing it. Here's some sample meals. Overnight oats, pretty simple. You could do an overnight oatmeal in minutes. Put it in the fridge for tomorrow. You wake up and you can eat it. So oatmeal, milk, fruit, toppings, sometimes protein powder goes well. Salmon bowls, rice bowls type things, having a salmon or another protein source, some sort of a marinade that's low calories, or broccoli, rice. We can swap those out for other vegetables or starchy carbs. Ultimately, it's going to go back down to the portion of what you put on your plate there. Here's some sample snacks. So string cheese with grapes, hummus and pretzels. Portion those out. Greek yogurt with some berries like a parfait. A wrap with a low calorie, high fiber wrap works wonderfully. So there's lots of opportunities there. We can always consider food delivery, but there is expense to that. You're taking the convenience into fact and you're paying for that in one way or another, whether things get mailed to you or meal prep kits or grocery delivery, there ends up being a cost as well. Certainly want to create convenience in your everyday life. So the biggest conclusion here is a balanced diet gives the body the nutrients it needs to function properly. Healthy eating does not have to be complicated or expensive if you plan things out and you spend some time figuring out when coupons are, when better grocery shopping times are in the week or month, and when to shop things and have things bought in bulk to save. Not necessarily going to Sam's Club or something or Costco, but just buying when there's a week meat sale or something. You could buy more meat in that situation. And having a wide variety of cooking experiences for you to enjoy. So I want to thank you for your time today. Hopefully I was able to simplify, create a little less overwhelm and confusion, and create more clarity around what eating nutrition, healthy nutrition looks like. I hope you enjoyed our time together. Thank you so much.